Hi modelers, it's Chris, the modeler at ABR Modelworks. And in today's video, making a desktop style baseboard, I'm going to show you the differences between the desktop style and the standard style that we've made in the past. Now the standard style is designed so that it can have legs attached to it and it's freestanding. And the idea is it's modular. You can build a layout as large as you like, and it can be portable, etc. The benchtop style has the same features. However, the difference is it's designed not to have legs. You can add legs to it, but it's primarily designed to sit on a benchtop itself. And so the main two differences are how we do the cross bracing, and this is for the benchtop style. So the cross bracing on the benchtop style only covers the individual module. So when you bolt several modules together, the bracing is only for that module. Whereas on the standard style, the bracing goes across the whole structure. So in this case, this particular baseboard is one of mine. It's 1350 long. It's for my layout ABR lines. Whereas this one that I'm putting together is actually going to be comprised of two 450mm square baseboards that are joined together to make a 450 by 900. And the reason why this came about was because some end scalers reached out to us and said, look, we don't want it on legs, we want to put it on bench tops. And so I had a good think about that. How could I make a benchtop style that didn't have the little protruding sections that help to join the two baseboards together with the other strip that goes behind it? And given that the idea was that they were only ever going to be the maximum length of 1200 and they were going to be supported in a flat environment, then all of the extra bracing that this has wasn't absolutely necessary. So straight away, as I said, these U-joiners are longer on this one. They actually hang down, as you can see below. Now obviously they go that way. Whereas this style, there's actually a little groove cut into the end pieces where they join together, and the joiners go in to the little tab slots and go flush with the base. So you'll end up with, on a 450 wide one, you'll end up with 6 joiners. And of course they're just a bit shorter, as you can see. Then in the cross bracing, what we do is we put the little rectangles in the corners to strengthen them up. That sits on top. Like these, it can be screwed in place as a temporary exercise while you're working on the baseboard, which keeps it nice and stiff. And then when you're ready to finish it all off, you can remove the screws, put some glue on, and if you wish, put the screws back there to give you a nice tight joint, which is how I'm going to work. So this is basically, as I said, it's a 450 by 900. I'm going to go ahead and start putting it together to show you what the differences are. Now basically, everything from where the joint is this way on both of them is exactly the same. They have, you know, the side pieces, they have the cross pieces underneath the ribs, but there's a slight difference in what we do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this baseboard up to the stage where this isn't attached, and the same with this one, and then we'll talk about how to bring them together to get them nice and well aligned. So I'm going to go ahead and start that process and get it to that point, and then I'm going to come back to you and show you how I'm going to tackle the last part. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the two halves done, and we're now going to bring them together and glue them and put the U-joiners in place. Now the thing that's really different about the desktop system as opposed to the freestanding system is that the U-joiners, as I said before, sit down level, and we have these little notches cut out that when they are in place and you put the U-joiner in, it drops all the way down. So that's the main difference as far as the two are concerned. Now when placing the end pieces on, it has a part number, and you want the part number on the outside. That way the keying process will work correctly for you. So part number on the outside, part number on the outside. On the other pieces, what makes the outside is these little engraved rectangles, and that shows that that's the outside of the piece. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to, as quickly as possible, put some glue on these pieces and slot them in together, and then I'm going to lift the board onto its end and then apply some glue on the face, push it back together, give it a little bit of a scrub so the glue spreads, give it a little bit of a push backwards and forwards so the glue spreads, and then be very quick and careful to line up so that we can get these U-joiners in place. We don't have a lot of time with the glue at this stage. I'm using the Gorilla Glue, and it dries quite quickly, so I need to have my skates on. So let's get on with it. Now, because we're going to be putting U-clamps either side, we want to make sure there's glue there, but we're going to put too much because we don't want it to be in the way for when you're pushing the U-clamps down. Again, bear in mind that as you glue this, you're gluing two pieces in place, and so that side of things means that we need, there's not a lot of time, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, push it up, have a look, make sure it's in as tight as possible. We'll fix that a little bit more in a minute. Do the same thing with this one. Okay. Now this is one of the reasons why you want Glad wrap on your bench top, or some form of cling wrap, because you can see we've got some glue there, and it won't stick to the cling wrap. So a little bit of glue on the face may not look like the neatest job, but it really doesn't matter because you don't see it. And just do a little bit of wiggle like that, line up the pieces, squeeze it as tight as you can. We'll put some clamps on these in a minute. Now get your U-joiners. Okay, now those U-joiners will pull this nice and tight, grab a bunch of clamps, and there we go, we've got it together. Now what I'll probably do as well, just a little bit of added security, put some pegs over the U-joiners to help squeeze them in. Okay, so that's it. Pretty straightforward. Just need to be methodical and quick. We've now got ourselves a nice joint that's going to be good and solid, and there we have the baseboard, except we now need to add the cross brace, but I need to let this dry now. Now in hindsight, after doing the method I've just done, where I've had to work very fast with the glue and etc. so that it didn't dry and I didn't get myself jammed up, really you probably could get away with doing it exactly the same way as we normally put them together. Put all the four sides on, of course, and then once you've got that done and you've got the two pieces nice and dry, then you could put the glue between the two pieces, slide them together, do the little wiggle to get the glue to move around, and then put the U-joiners in place. The only thing that you need to be really careful of is that test fit the U-joiners first to make sure that there's not a bead of glue in the corner that's stopping the U-joiner coming up nice and flush with the edge. So if you do it that way, that's also works fine. In fact, it's the way we put the larger modules together. So that may be a better way of handling it, because that way you're not under quite as much pressure. Nevertheless, whichever way you feel more comfortable, that's the way you should do it. So now, as you can see, I've glued the two 450 by 450 modules together, and the cross bracing is just sitting on top. Now, without the cross bracing, as you can see, it's got quite a bit of flex in it, and you know, that's no good as a baseboard. We need to deal with that, and that's what the cross bracing is for. And so basically what we'll be doing is these little triangle pieces, they get glued into the corners, they get glued into these corners. So each of those get 4 each, and then the outer corners get 1 each. And then what you can do is you can put a screw in to hold the cross brace in place while you're building the railway. And then once you've finished building the railway, you can take the screws out and glue the cross brace permanently in place. And of course you can use the screws to help squeeze the two pieces together to get maximum grip from the glue. So what I'm going to do is, because this is going to be used primarily as a display item, I'm going to put the corner pieces in, glue those in place on both sides, and then on one side I'm going to glue the cross brace in permanently, and on the other side I'll attach it with some screws, and that way we've got something you can see from a demo point of view. But once those two cross braces are on, it won't have any flex. It'll be quite rigid. So let me get on to putting in the corner pieces and then attaching the cross braces, and we'll come back to you at that stage and show you how much flex there is. Okay, so I've made a mistake. I didn't plug in the audio. Rather stupid, but nevertheless I can fix this, I hope. What I'm explaining to you right now is that I've had a change of mind as far as whether to just screw the cross braces in place or to screw and glue. And basically I've decided that I'll probably end up wanting to use this baseboard for another project at some point in time. So instead of having one of the crosses glued and one of them screwed, I'm going to screw them both, which allows me to take it apart so that I can do the wiring and whatever else needs to happen underneath. So now what I'm showing you is that I've glued in all the little triangle pieces into the various corners, and now they're dry. I've given them a little light rub on the top so that the cross brace will actually sit flush. Over here I've taken a block of wood and clamped onto the end so that when I push the cross brace over to that corner, it's square and level with the end. And I'm just going to drill a pilot hole into that corner and put in 1 screw. Now I'll move the block of wood to the other side, and by pushing the cross brace up against the block of wood, I've now got my cross brace nice and square, and when you push the other one up against it, it's also level at the far end of the baseboard. So I've got everything nice and square. I'll continue on now by drilling one at a time each of the corners and adding a screw. By moving around the baseboard this way, everything stays nice and square. Now, so that the second cross brace is nice and square, I'll move that block of wood up to the center area, and by drilling on the far side and putting a screw in, that will hold it nice and square again. And finally I'll put the last 2 screws in the last 2 corners, and at this point we'll have a very stiff baseboard. Good. So let me put these last couple in, and that'll hold it in place. Okay, so now these 2 pieces are screwed in the corners, they're not going to move anywhere. So I can just quickly take the drill and drill a hole in each of these spots just to hold this down nicely. So I'll quickly do that as one quick batch. So now, as you can see, all of the screws are in place, which has now made this super strong. There is absolutely no flex there at all. So a nice solid lightweight baseboard. Now this only weighs 2.5 kilograms, which is not bad. It means that pretty much anybody could carry that around. Ideal for HO gauge or N gauge, or pretty much any gauge for that matter. But no, I'm very happy with that. It's like the rest of our baseboards, super easy to put together, doesn't take a lot of effort or time, and pretty much anybody could do it. Just follow the videos. Now, the one thing I will say at this point is that like the larger baseboards, the cross bracing is going to be different for each of the sizes. So similar in terms of how it goes together, but different. So just be aware of that. In the description below, there's a link to the Make a Scene baseboard system and also to this baseboard, which is a 900 by 450 millimeter desktop baseboard. Okay, so let's wrap it up. So for those of you who haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe. That will help us grow the channel, which will be great. And at the same time, ring the bell for notifications on new videos like this, and of course the building of ABR lines, our display layout. And in the meantime, have a great day modelling, and thanks for watching. I'm Chris, the modeler at ABR Model Works.